We live on Light Skin Television, my man Hound Dog BUCK50, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Elder gentleman of this battle rap community, hip hop community thing going on here. He's an excellent battle rapper. I'm a turntablist and battle rap media at the same time. You know what I mean? We was just discussing some things earlier about how the younger generation, the majority of the battle rap community knows a whole lot about rap, maybe more than most people, about contemporary rap, about battle rap, putting together bars, setups, and everything, but they really don't know too much about hip hop, which is not a problem. But it's just something with you and I believe, think that it's just something you should know. You should know the basics, the background, when vital moments in the rap aspect of hip hop changed everything, and they should have some type of timeline. Like if you say you're a LeBron fan, you know about Jordan, but why don't you know about Will Chamberlain, George
Yeah,
Mikan, and Bill Russell? That that's the parallel I can draw to it. So you brought up the topic. So tell me what you think the importance of this conversation is. You said we should have this conversation. So Hound Dog BUCK50, let the people know.
it was. You know what it was? I was. There's a lot of things I was that kind of triggered that. I think I was in the gym one day, and I don't know what happened, but I mean, I'm always playing my music on my phone or whatever, and I just the late '80s just came across my mental dome, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
and I just thought about how incredible that era was, because there was so much music coming out, and I mean, it was just an awesome time of but but I also say that I respect the different genres of ages because I understand that they're going to have a timeline that may not be my timeline. So
Right,
I don't dog them out for saying, well, why do you like Drake instead of Rakim? Because I get it. That's
right,
not their timeline, you
right.
know. But for me, when I think back to that time, the hip hop was just so it was so like I give it to you like this. It was so deep to where back then, like nowadays, you almost have to be like at least platinum or gold to mean something in hip hop.
Okay.
Back
You was
then,
there from the inception, so you saw it start. You
yeah,
and I saw it start, so it means more to us because they don't have a reference point since they've been alive. You know, I'm talking about the people that's like 38 years old and younger. They don't know when it started, so they almost don't appreciate when there wasn't it, when it wasn't around. Like we
yeah,
remember we were living our regular life and like, what is this shit? Oh my God, we like children. It's like, oh, is this gonna stick around? What is this? This is this a one off? Are we gonna hear these few couple of records like this? And why are they doing it in the street? And why are they spinning on their head? Like all this shit hit us at one time and we watched it grow and we can appreciate the now, the in between, the beginning. They don't have a reference point from the beginning to the golden years. That's how this conversation started. You was talking about 1988, 89, the golden era when shit really started to switch. And you said some younger adults, they were asking you who you liked back then. You named some names. You said LL Cool J. You said they gave you a crazy fucking look, like he wasn't a pioneer, like he wasn't like,
yeah.
yeah,
I get I get that from a lot of people. I mean, they obviously don't. Obviously, the man's got fans, but you have some people who are not hip. I put it like this: if you say you don't like, I'm gonna use a current battle rappers.
hmm,
If I bring up Big K and let's just say I don't know Hitman Holla, and
okay,
you say I don't you say you don't like Big K, but when I'm talking to you, obviously you know who Big K is because
right,
I can tell by your references
hmm,
that you know who he is. It's just not your cup of tea. You're like, man, he's good, but I can live with that because at the end of the day, we got to agree to disagree. I
hmm,
like Hitman Holla, you don't like Big K or vice versa, whatever.
okay,
But when you start to talk and you say something like, yeah, well, he had that battle, like you may reference a battle he had that wasn't his best battle. And I
okay.
can tell by the way you talk, and that's the only battle you've seen of Big K. I don't feel like we can have a legitimate discussion because you
Because
haven't
he don't
really.
have all the different reference points. He just got
Yes,
in his mind what he saw, what he don't like, this recent or
yes.
from 5 years ago. You know what I mean? Okay,
You got a lot of people when they think LL Cool J, they just think love songs.
which
They
is
just
crazy
think,
to me. We do
you
look,
know,
us purists look at it like that is kind of his demise as far as where the hardcore heads and the people, you know, as far as his legacy, we look at it like that's where your legacy took a turn. But he just evolved and he just made himself more popular worldwide, and his life is better because he made that decision. His life is better because he made a
but
few love records. But
but
we know he changed the way we write rhymes forever and the way we deliver them. He changed all that shit. He changed it.
and you know what's so crazy? I never thought about this until like a couple years ago. It goes so deep that when you look at his career, right? LL did a lot of stuff that was groundbreaking
Mm-hmm.
because he was like, there was a time when we buy a rap record and the person would just rap 10, 12 tracks and they would rap
Right.
whatever they. LL was like you listen to Going Back to Cali, I'm that type of guy. A lot of these songs, you're like, what the hell is LL doing? Then you fast forward years later, they started giving them titles, club records,
Right.
records for the radio.
Right.
He never stayed in a pocket to where he rapped the same way. And it was a gift and a curse because I think because he never stayed straight like Rock the Bells or whatever. If he had stayed in that lane, he may not have been as popular, but he
No,
would have
he
been
wouldn't.
more revered. He
Right,
would
for
have
a
been,
revered for a longer time. See, but this is
yeah,
where our conversation, this is where we originally went to. You said he'd have been more revered if he'd have stayed in that lane, but the you know and I know his career wouldn't have lasted as long. And
no, no,
like you said, if he'd have kept it real, quote unquote, he'd have turned a certain age and they wouldn't have jacked him anyway. You know what I mean? More than likely. It just because shit changes. Shit changes, but you had to have him. He changed everything. Okay, let me to the people that's watching, let me get them an example of what I'm saying. Before that 83 to 86 era, the 83 to 86 era, everyone's like, your rhyme pattern was like, give me like some old school, you know what I mean? It's like, just the other day, I was around the way, and then I
yeah,
seen the people,
yeah,
and the cadence like this. We did it like that. How much longer we couldn't fucking listen to that for 40 something years. So it had to
yeah.
elevate. There was Run
Had to elevate.
DMC, kind of changed the cadence, but they were just one group doing shit a certain way, but you could still see where they was coming from. They still coming from that late 70s, early 80s rap. You know what I mean? When they
Yeah,
start surfacing around 82, 83, 84. You know what I mean? But they were a two-man group instead of these big-ass groups like Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five, Grandmaster Melly Mel and them, and Sugar Hill Gang with 3 members, and Treacherous 3 with 3, and Cold Crush 4, and Crash Crew and all them. It was like 3 to 6 members in every group, and those were the ones who had records out. You barely had solo artists. You might have had Spoonie G, but the other solo artists were like females and shit, like Dimples D and people like that. So you really didn't have too many solo rappers, but Curtis Blow. But he was in that era, like, what up, I'm Curtis Blow, and I want you to know. And he was rhyming, in the 70s. He was a battle rapper in the 70s, him and Melly Mel. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So by the time the early 80s came in, that's how they was rapping. They was the big head, the big wigs, you know what I mean, as far as making records and who we can reference styles to. But like around 83, like we said, Run DMC, and then, the Def Jam Profile era, here comes LL, 84, 85. 84, 85, he's coming with the multi-syllabic raps and, using the big words and just like, he don't have no break in between his records. He just going like 32 bars straight. You know what I mean? You know how LL was bringing it. He was like, he just going crazy. We like, who the fuck is this? What is this? And let's tell the truth. You and I were in our early to mid teens then, in the 83 to 85, right? And we
yeah,
remember all of us, at least you and the people that desired to rap then, you didn't want to rap like Curtis Blow, Cool Mo D, and the Treacherous 3. You don't even want to rock like Run DMC, and they was the hottest shit out. Everybody wanted to rap like LL. Then here comes MC Shan behind LL at the same time. Everyone want to sound like MC Shan and LL. They didn't want to sound like them 25, 30-year-old rappers. They want to sound like teenagers like them. Then you had here comes Roxanne Shante. You had a bunch of teenage rappers, Biz Markie, Rakim. These motherfuckers still in high school. Big Daddy Kane still in high school. These is all teenagers in the mid 1980s that came with that different style, that different cadence, bigger words, words that made sense, you know what I mean? And just topics, stories. The stories more up to date, the clothing, the swag, everything was different. They changed the shit. So when we say LL, cats our age revere that shit. We don't even think about I Need Love in 1989 to 1993 cuts he made. We thinking about how he changed the shit from 84 to 86 and how he took the shit over from like 86 to 88. Him, Rakim, Cool G Rap and all that. It was different. They did not, and then they was laughing at cats like Ice-T that just came in the game as far as, you know, making records. They laughing at him because he sounded like the West Coast version of them late 70s, early 80s cats. He was dope. But you know what I'm saying? They was laughing at cats that was still relevant. That's how much LL changed. He made you laugh at anybody sounding like they in their 20s or 30s. They would laugh at you if you was a 28-year-old rapper that had a hit record out. The purist, I'm saying. Now, like you said, the cats you have a discussion with, they laughing at the fact that you say LL was what you was listening to at the end of the 80s, which is just crazy to laugh at. Like, why would you laugh at that shit? You know what I mean? Yeah, but they like we said, they don't know the reference point. They got one idea in their mind of who this person is, and they think of I Need Love or him with his shirt open, appealing to the ladies. But that was his second and third generation of when he was rapping. You know what I mean? His first reference point was late 1983 to late 1989. That's how you and I remember LL. All that shit later was, you know, not to disrespect it. That's what he did to make himself rich forever. He's still rich forever.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
yeah, man.
We bring it up to now. It's like you said, everyone. We might not see Drake as super talented, but we can see why he's popular. Because
definitely.
You know what I mean? The cadence that they use now is what it is. You know what I mean? And how they rap now and what they rap about, it makes sense to this era. You know what I mean? It's what's attractive to now. And it's just not what I like, but I wouldn't disrespect it because this is what the people like now. But pretty much anybody that's out now doing what they doing, it's nothing different than we ain't heard before. We done heard decades of this shit. People come and go, and you know what I mean? And it's just like a carbon copy. Unless you really sound different and you saying something different and you rapping different. I mean, how many variations can you have? We done seen it all, heard it all. That's why I don't even disrespect nothing that people like. I'm like, if you like it, that's great. You know what I mean? Everyone deserves to shine. But I'm not going to shit on the real pioneers. Because we had 70% corny shit back then too, bro. Let's keep it real. We had a lot of, you and I, we accepted and respected everything because we didn't have this much variety. Any record that came out, any artist, any album, even if we didn't like it, we're going to put it in rotation. We're going to listen to it. We're going to try to fuck with it. Try to like it someone or find something out of it that we can like, or at least put on the turntables and cut that shit up, find a sample or a break. We had to make use of everything because we didn't have like artists coming out every day. You lucky to hear a new song every 3 weeks or new artists drop an album every 60 days. You overblown with music right now. We got just too much artists. Too much. It's just too much shit. We respected everything, even when we had a lot of corny shit. I ain't gonna lie, but LL wasn't one of them.
Yeah, we, like you said, when I hear people like talk about like from this era and they say, well, now they negative and in our era we didn't do this, and I'm like, I don't know about all that. I mean, I don't even want to necessarily say negative, but if you want to play that, you know, to play devil's advocate, back then we had Redman talking about weed and Cypress Hill talking about smoking. So I hate when sometimes people from our era make it seem like our era was just so, serene and
no.
like, yeah, we talked about shit too.
We talked about shit. We had a lot of dumb shit. In fact, we kind of fucked it up for this time. We can't never say that. Yeah, I mean, but I think you had just as much variety now as you did then. But I think the only difference is if I really put my feelings aside and say what it is for what it is, um, that was the beginning of shit. We saw what it was growing to, and now we know what it's grown to be. And if you really look back at it, we was freestyling. We didn't know where the future was going. We was just in the now. But now you in the now, motherfuckers is taking from the past, which they should, adding a little stuff from now, trying to be futuristic, which is like shit we already seen and heard before. They're running out of shit. You know what I mean? But anything you did different then was new because it just started. Even in the mid 90s, the shit wasn't but 20 years old. In the mid 80s, it was 10 years old or less. Talking about the rap culture. You know what I mean? In the early 80s, all that shit was new because it just hit the records. Like it's in your record store. Like, oh, they're not just rapping on the corners or at the job or at school. They actually making records like they are rapping over disco beats. And another reference point that people got to respect is there was no such thing as hip hop beats and hip hop music. There was a such thing as rappers emceeing, and they got a hold of anything rhythmic that they can get a hold of. And it was usually disco records or a live band making soul or big band beats, and not too many instruments or instrumentation. But we just grabbed whatever we could, boom, tss, boom, boom, tss, boom. Like anything we can. It don't even matter if it was corny or not. Just something where we was able to rap over. Now you got these super producers and samplers and all this different machinery and live bands. You got all kinds of options to have where the music can sound better than the MCs. You know what I mean? When the shit was coming up, there wasn't no hit. A lot of people don't understand this. There was no bruh. You know what I'm talking about. The producers making serious beats wasn't coming through to like a good 83, 84. They really started getting nice around 87, 88, 89. We had none of that shit, man. We had Teddy Riley in the mid 80s. We had an R&B dude to play mad different instruments. Your favorite songs, Teddy Riley had shit to do with that before he got the New Jack Swing and the R&B thing. It was Teddy Riley. It was like dudes that had some amount of instrumentation about them. You know what I mean? They resume. Like it was no hip hop beats. There was no hip hop music. There was rappers rapping over any old shit. So we got to respect the MCs from that era that brought it to this. And then the rest of the hip hoppers helped elevate the rappers in the rap music. But we got a reference point. Like, you can't make us forget this shit. Like, we remember when the shit was, what's the word I'm looking for? Primitive. And I'm never going to forget the primitive stuff and shit on it because it had to start somewhere. Like everyone's got to respect it. I just think enough people don't do their research. They don't know enough about it. You know what I mean? That's where I think the disconnect is. But I respect our music from all eras, man. I love it all. Being a turntablist, a disc jock, I like all that shit. But I'm never going to shit on nothing that was pioneer based. You know what I mean? Anything that got us to where we at now. You can't do that. You can, but you look crazy doing it in a conversation.
You know what I mean? And especially when it comes to something like that, it's funny. I was just at a battle rap event in Orlando a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And this Disaster was hosting it.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked afterwards as a group of us, and he was I think because he was talking to me, and then the whole age thing came up. Maybe we were just talking about the older, younger thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, the thing is, sometimes you'll find a person like say you have a nephew and he's like, I don't know, 29,
okay.
30. His favorite MC might be Eminem.
Okay.
So Eminem is his timeline as far as going back to an earlier time. Okay, to him, Eminem is God. Mm-hmm. Okay, but as we all know, when we saw, when Eminem does that speech he did years ago, when he talked about, it wasn't the Hall of Fame. It was years ago. He won a Grammy, or I don't know what it was. He had a piece of paper, and he was talking about all these people: Tretch, Master Ace, all these people that influenced him or
Right.
whatever. So, and then you might say if you say to your nephew, like, this is a great time to educate him, be like, you ever heard of Naughty by Nature? Because now you're trying to
Right.
show him, you're
Who
not just
his
referencing,
who his favorite
yes,
listen to? How did they get to
yes,
that point? They
get
didn't
to
get
that
there on their
point.
own. They didn't just wake up and just be the nicest. Something that they was listening to, people that they idolized or emulated, got them to that point. So you can't disrespect your favorite rappers' favorite rappers. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
all I'm trying to. Exactly. Exactly. You don't got to like it, but you should at least not be ignorant to it. Like if someone says Master Ace, you can't be like, who the fuck is that? Like, oh, you fucking kidding me? They know they heard of the Juice Crew, but they can't tell you who was in it.
Eh,
How you around here?
eh,
It's okay if you're a fan or a listener, but how you another rapper that people pay money to see and you don't know who the fuck Master Ace is? And he got 2 battles under his belt. He got creamed. He tried to battle in the mid
yeah.
2000s. He
Yeah, I
got
saw
embarrassed,
he
but
got
I
it.
respect it. I respect that
He's
he
got him
tried.
online.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Shit's crazy.
Man, it's funny because when you, and here's another thing. Some people are fans of the culture, but then you got those young, but they don't consider themselves underground hip hop, you know. But then you got those young kid the backpack,
Backpack
underground.
generation. Yeah.
Yeah, and see, I feel like I hold them more accountable because
Mm,
once you claim that, now you're leaving the door open for people like me to be like, so what you know about this?
right.
Because for the casual hip hopper, I don't expect you to know who Master Ace is. But to me, Master Ace is to what hardcore hip hop, to what Roy Ayers is to like jazz. You
Perfect correlation. That's perfect what you just said right there. Yeah. I agree.
you can't say you're a hardcore jazz fan and don't know who Roy Ayers is. You look crazy.
How you walking around looking like you can't say you a backpacker and not aware of who Master Ace is. I ain't even talking about Master Ace Juice Crew 80's. I'm talking about Master Ace 95 sitting on
Yeah,
Chrome. You know what I mean? Born to roll.